Are you going to be fighting at the White House?
So I am in negotiations with the Ultimate Fighting Championship about the bout. Either the White House or there or thereabouts. Sometime in the summer, McGregor will return.
I will have more information for you guys. Actually, no. This week I should announce the White House fight. This week I should be announcing it.
This UFC card that's going to take place on the White House lawn. How do you decide the headliner?
John Jones has made it clear I want to do this, and he sent me a text apologizing and all that stuff, but I need people that I can seriously rely on for this one. People talk shit about Conor. Conor is a guy that literally will fight anybody.
But does he care enough to actually make a fight right now?
He and I have been talking nonstop, and he's like, I'm dead serious. I want this. So we'll see.
What was once deemed unthinkable is now quickly gaining real momentum. As talk of this potential White House fight card continues to rock the combat sports world, there is now a name that has officially entered the room to make this bout happen: Conor McGregor. When we think about the fact that Conor McGregor is indeed in talks to potentially compete on what could be the most political fight card in the history of combat sports, this is not just a comeback tease. This is a move that will change the very face of spectacle in the world of MMA.
Did you see the rumors of the Conor McGregor versus
not Prates.
Carlos Prates?
Yeah. That's going to be heavy rumors. I know Conor tweeted. He tweeted too. It's a no-namer next. But dude,
I don't think he want that.
Hell no.
Send the contract.
I would have been so fired up if that was true. I would have been.
Why?
Because it's like, okay, Conor taking a fight like that means he's actually coming back. Or because if he's not, he's getting his ass
for what?
beat.
To get his ass beat?
Yeah, well, either one. But you tell me right now, if Conor came back serious and then went and knocked out Prates, people would freak the fuck out.
Not happening.
Yeah, I know it's not happening, but you would lose.
The champions themselves are admitting to this fact. In fact, Alexander Volkanovski has gone on to say that if the UFC truly does go through with this White House mega card, perhaps the rules won't apply, because leaving Conor McGregor out of the main event would almost be unthinkable. In other words, this is an event of this size and scope, and it isn't about the rules or the titles that are on the line. It is about star power and the biggest name in the sport shining bright on this particular evening that will rewrite history in its own right.
If, say, Conor is on the card, he's not going to be fighting for a title.
Nope.
Do they make him a headline still? Like, is he going to be the biggest pull, or what? How does that work?
I mean, you can't have Conor McGregor not headline. It wouldn't make sense.
Do you think they'll do that, but
I think they would.
Title?
I think they would. I think they'll have title. It's a White House card. I think this is much bigger than, you know what I mean? I think a few of your standard things that goes out the window for this type of event. So I think they would. Obviously, you could have a Gaethje, and if Conor's not on there, you've probably got them headlining. There's whispers of that being the headline.
Pereira Jones or
who's the headline?
Aspinall.
Aspinall won't be ready in time. Pereira moving up to heavyweight. There's been talks of it. Is that headline?
He's been hinting, jumping on the scale as he's heavy as.
Yeah, he's hinting at it. And there's a lot of talks about it.
For a night that could rewrite history, the promotion may be willing to make concessions to their original plan in order to keep their biggest star in the spotlight. But not everyone is convinced that this is without strings attached. The rising prospect himself, Carlos Prates, has mentioned that he was brought up as a potential opponent for Conor McGregor on the mooted White House card, but this idea was swiftly shot down. Prates himself believes that the risk-reward factor just wasn't in McGregor's favor, an idle superstar fighting outside his natural weight class against a man who has the momentum and knockout ability on his side.
Cara, pra mim não chegou nada do UFC, tá ligado? Acredito que eles tenham me oferecido sim pro McGregor.
Eu passei até a informação que eu falei com uma pessoa bem informada que trabalha com você, que me disse isso também, que eles chegaram a escutar que ofereceram o seu nome ao McGregor, mas que oficialmente o UFC não ofereceu nada para vocês. Então é isso também, né? Você ficou sabendo que pelo menos pro lado de lá seu nome rolou, né?
Sim, aí ele deu uma peidada, correu.
Dá pra dizer que o Conor correu por quê, Carlão? Por que você acha que ele correu?
Porque eu sou embaçado, né, mano? Pô, o cara 5 anos parado aí e tal. Não é dessa categoria, embora as últimas lutas dele tenha feito no 7-7, mas não é um cara naturalmente do 7-7. Pô, eu venho aí no hype, nocauteando todo mundo. Então, eu acredito que se eu tivesse no lugar dele, eu também não aceitaria nem fodendo, mano. Acho que ele quer pegar, sei lá, mano. Ele deve pegar aí um ex-campeão, sabe? Alguma parada assim.
But the conversation doesn't end there, at least not until the matchup was raised on a panel with Welch, at which point the tone turned from speculative to genuinely interesting. Welch noted, after all, that Protes isn't just hype. He's a savvy fighter with serious pop on the left side, as well as a nasty Muay Thai game, which has historically been a style of fight that gives McGregor fits. And then, of course, there's Protes' size, attitude, and just general air of nonchalance, including the fact that he was known to light cigarettes during fight week.
Lose your mind.
100%.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, Carlos Prates is a clean 6'2", southpaw, devastating with his left hand, devastating Muay Thai. Remember what Dustin did? Dustin kicked the stick right off him.
Yeah.
And Carlos is a different fucking ball game right now.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's big.
And he'd smoke a cigarette while doing it. And I would love dude. That fight, I know it's a big rumor, but it would be fun.
I've been in.
I thought that shit was a joke with him smoking. We fought in a Chicago card. I'll pull up to the hotel. He just out there ripping those motherfuckers.
Even with all the hype, the logistics are still murky. Oscar Willis noted that while McGregor has mentioned negotiations and even referenced the White House card, getting a deal done isn't simple. The UFC is likely juggling multiple potential matchups, trying to land a combination that works financially, and after all, a single McGregor fight could pull in $25 million, which no promotion would ignore. Willis doesn't rule out the possibility entirely, but he cautions that the economics of making the July 11 card happen might be too challenging, even if fans are desperate to see the comeback unfold.
He did say in that interview, I'm in negotiations, and he did mention the White House, so at least in his mind, maybe this is still an option.
I think it's probably still an option. As I said at the beginning of this, like they probably have 6 fights, right, that they're bouncing from one to the other until they can get a deal that they're satisfied with. I do believe, like Ariel's reported, they just want a gate, you know, like at this point with inflation, with everything, like you can probably get $25 million off a Conor fight, you know? And it's just, they're just never going to pass up $25 million, you know, they're not, so especially if they're already losing money on the event, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that July 11th card is probably where if they can come to a deal, he'll come back on. I don't know against who at this point, but yeah, I don't believe he'll be at the White House. But I'm very hopeful. I fucking would love him to come back, obviously. But I just think, like, the economics of it are too tough to make work for them.
And when it comes to matchups, Willis leans into what makes sense for both the fans and the spectacle. He's all in on a potential Diaz trilogy, seeing it as a natural and exciting storyline. Beyond that, he suggests the UFC could aim for fun fights, like a BMF-style bout against someone like Max or Charles, where belts aren't necessarily on the line, but the entertainment value is sky high. As Willis put it, at this point, Conor should just be in fun ones. He even notes that if the promotion wanted to reward McGregor's legacy as a multi-division champion, a special opportunity to chase a third official title could be tempting, though the BMF belt wouldn't count.
I mean, at this point, I'm just all in on the Diaz trilogy. I think like it's just, I don't know. The Prates rumor sort of showed where their mentality might be at with booking Conor, but then the fact they moved on from that, maybe they didn't like the reaction they got for that fight or something like that. Maybe they just couldn't come to terms with Conor on that or whatever. But I want the Diaz trilogy, and failing that, I know Ariel said this as well, but it's the most logical thing. Just do the BMF. You know, him versus Max or Charles for the BMF, I think is like, I think that works. I think people would be okay with it. And I think it's like, what's the BMF if not just, here's a fun one, you know? And I think at this point, Conor should just be in fun ones. And then I think you give Conor the incentive for being a 3 title holder. So, especially like if, let's say they did John Alex and it's not for a belt, Conor would be the first opportunity to have 3 titles, right? And I imagine that's the sort of thing he would salivate.
Moreover, the White House card is already stirring global attention. Petr Yan chimed in on the discussion, hinting that while he's heard talk that Russian fighters might be excluded, nothing official has been confirmed. Yan framed it as a potential gesture of goodwill, saying the sport has the power to rise above politics, and true to his bold style, he even joked about taking the event global. The goal is first, we take the White House, and then we'll do a huge event in the Red Square. With comments like that, it's clear fighters are already imagining the spectacle, no matter the hurdles.
But was told that Russian fighters couldn't fight on the White House card, to just be as blunt as possible. Have you heard the same?
Merab сказал, что он предлагал такую тему, но если говорить открыто, то русским нельзя драться в Белом доме. Это правда, неправда? Ты такое слышал?
Я такого не слышал, но я считаю, что UFC — это международная организация, в которой выступают бойцы практически со всех стран, с разных стран мира. Я считаю, что это было бы, наоборот, отличным жестом показать, что спорт является вне политики.
You know, I haven't heard a definite no regarding, Russian fighters, but I think that UFC is a huge international organization that probably fighters from all over the world are fighting in the UFC. So I think that if anything, this would be an incredible gesture, kind of like a gesture of goodwill to show that sport, after all, is outside of politics.
Okay, and you
Сначала,
go ahead.
Ариэль,
Yes.
сначала мы захватим Белый дом, а потом проведем огромный ивент на Красной площади.
And the goal is first we take the White House, and then we'll do a huge event.
For this card, readiness is everything, and Petr Yan is making it clear he won't shy away. He says he's prepared for anyone the UFC puts in front of him, emphasizing an all-in, anywhere, anytime approach. Even with the chatter about a potential clash with Shane O'Malley, Yan isn't worried about timing or prior arrangements. His mindset is simply to be ready the moment the fight is official.
You know, obviously UFC is the type of company that decides this stuff. They listen to the fans. They really hear what the fans want. And I know they potentially promised a rematch to Merab, but really it's whoever. I'm ready for everybody. Whoever they put in front of me, I'm gonna be ready. I'm ready to go. I know Sean O'Malley was talking about it as well, and he said that he wants to fight in the White House. So that's one thing to say, but will he be ready if this gets announced? Will he all of a sudden not have enough time to prepare for me? I know he wanted to have a fight, but really, I just want to make sure that you know that it's anyone, anywhere.
While all eyes are on the White House card, Shara Bullet is already plotting to shift the spotlight to Russia. He envisions a UFC event in Red Square that could capture global attention and rival the hype surrounding Washington, turning Moscow into the next center of fight world conversation. If it happens, it wouldn't just be a fight, it would be a statement, putting Russian MMA firmly on the international map.
Одна из больших желаний, намерений у меня вернуть турнир в Россию и уже, чтобы на этом турнире присутствовали все русские добрые мужики, весь Кавказ и весь мир, который за меня переживает, болеет. И такую международную встречу боев хочу. Все говорят о Белом доме, но мы постараемся сделать, чтобы все говорили о Красной площади, Moscow, Russia. Power.
On the other hand, Charles Sonnen is confident about some of the key pieces falling into place. He expects both Kobe and Michael Chandler to be featured, and he stresses that Chandler isn't being sidelined or punished. The recent split with McGregor seems more about timing and contractual issues than anything personal. Sonnen also flagged the matchup potential, suggesting that a fight between Max and Chandler could be one of the more compelling bouts on the card, adding serious intrigue to the lineup.
You got to look at your dates on this. Dana comes out on a Monday and calls that fight off. And on Tuesday, Conor comes out publicly and says that he's got a contractual dispute with the UFC and doesn't even think he's under contract. I mean, all of a sudden it starts to make sense. All of a sudden you start going, oh, okay. Right? I mean, this guy's getting his pants put on. Everybody forgets over time who's who. Is that what that's about? But if it is, I can just tell you, per policy, Chandler would not be punished. So, okay. Ryan says you have to put Max on the card. I like the fight of Max versus...
When it comes to nationality and the White House card, Sonnen notes that history doesn't usually prioritize an American standing atop the main event. Big UFC milestones like 100, 200, and 300 weren't about national identity. The focus was on the fights themselves. But the White House setting changes the equation, giving the promotion a chance to feature an American in the spotlight without manipulating matchups. Sonnen admits it's a tricky call though, and while putting 2 Americans in the main event would solve it neatly, he's not convinced that's the route the UFC will take.
Like when I get asked the question, who has to fight on the White House card, I say, wait.
In what realm are we talking? Like who is just the most American? Because I gotta just tell you, historically, it really doesn't play out that way. It really doesn't, right? I mean, you got the four big ones. You got UFC 100, 200, 300, and Sphere. Those are the big ones. And there was no emphasis put on the fact that an American goes out on top. It just wasn't. So this is different, though. This is different. You're on the White House lawn. You can make sure an American goes out on top without rigging the deck. You could just put two Americans against each other in the main event. The problem solved. But I don't know that that's likely to happen, right?
And then Henry Cejudo lays out a few possibilities for the fight lineup, including matchups like Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev or Justin Gaethje against Armin. But when it comes to the main event, Cejudo leans toward the blockbuster spectacle, a showdown between Pereira and Jones. He notes that the UFC is increasingly focused on entertainment and what sells, and hopes Jones is preparing, because if the card delivers on that pairing, it would be the headline everyone's talking about.
Wait though, right?
I think they're gonna do Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, and then I think they might do Justin Gaethje versus Armin, and then that's what's kind of or unless it did McGregor, against Islam Makhachev. That's the only thing, the scenario that I can think of. But I mean, if these guys don't understand, like, dude, the Paramount has really changed a lot of things and it's becoming more entertainment. Who could sell?
Yeah. Do you think? Well, let's just ask you now. Dana White's getting the announcements are coming this week. What's your prediction for the main event of UFC White House?
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, they're just gonna move everything around. So I think it would make sense. I'm gonna have to say the main event is probably gonna be Pereira Jones. And I hope Jones.
So what do you think? Will McGregor actually step onto the White House card? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the latest updates. We want to hear your predictions. Could this be the comeback fight of the decade?